What's up, guys? Here we are on Repricer.com. Now, Repricer.com claims to be, you can see the text here on the screen, the world's #1 repricer. I'm not so sure that's true. Based on just search volume and other metrics, BeCool seems to be, in my opinion, or at least in my observation, the biggest repricer. Not so sure how they're making this claim. Maybe it is the biggest repricer. I don't know. But anyway, we're here to do a tour of Repricer.com. We're here to go through the entire process of signing up to actually repricing our inventory, look at all the features, go through the entire process, and figure out, is Repricer.com a repricer worth using? Is it not? I'm basically going to give you a glimpse that you would otherwise have to sign up to get access to, and you're going to bypass that process and just tag along with me as we go through the whole thing. I'm basically just going to narrate everything I see, everything I'm thinking, everything I'm confused by, everything I'm not confused by, everything I like, everything I don't like, and go through the whole process. And I will say this, I do want to dive in and look at all the features and everything, but I got to tell you, I was just poking on the website a second ago. I really don't like I've seen a lot of red flags. Basically, I've done this whole series of going into repricers. I'm seeing some patterns emerge, and a lot of them are kind of negative. And one of them is the overuse, the excessive, egregious overuse of jargon to advertise themselves. It's something that most repricers are guilty of. And you can see here, Repricer.com, I believe already is one of the worst. They put all these cheesy names on their features. Amazon Buy Box Predictor. Look at this one down here, Velocity Repricing. It's like, I want to know what you're doing. I don't need to hear the goofy names. I just want to know what you're doing. And a lot of times in my experience, software tools, particularly repricers, will hide behind fancy, cool sounding names to obscure the fact they don't actually tell you what the heck they're even doing or how they're repricing your inventory. So I've already kind of gone on a rant, but I guess I just mentioned this to say that my guard's a little bit up with Repricer.com going into this. Those are my biases going into this. I'm going to try to set that aside and let's dive in. Okay, so I went ahead and signed up and linked my Amazon account. I did all that off camera, and it brought me to this page, and I'm waiting for my Amazon inventory to sync with Repricer.com. So I just watched this intro video, and I learned a couple things. So number one, I will say I'm kind of impressed. There's actually an onboarding sequence, an onboarding process that it takes you through. Most repricers I've signed up for, you sign up, and they essentially just dump you into their page and their website and their program, and they don't really tell you what to do next. You're left to kind of flail around. So I do like there was a video, and it kind of said, hey, here's how we work, and it just gave you sort of a broad overview. Obviously, I'm not going to play it for you, but that's basically what it did. I also learned in this video that Repricer.com is one of those repricers, and this is most repricers, that really, really beats you over the head with this buy box thing. In other words, their whole mantra is like, we win you the buy box. Which is so funny because, as I always say, the majority of the factors that contribute to an Amazon seller, quote, owning the buy box have nothing to do with your repricer. It's basically like the participation trophy of repricers. In other words, it's the bare minimum. Of course, your repricer is going to win you the buy box. That's literally any repricer with a pulse is going to do that. That's all repricers do. They just edit your prices, right? And the main factors that contribute to whether you have the buy box are your prices, number one, of course, but then everything else are factors that have nothing to do with your repricer. So it really left a bad taste in my mouth a little bit, where it's just like buy box, buy box, buy box, buy box, and it's like you can't take credit for the buy box. All you're doing is editing my prices. So that's kind of weird, but let's wait for my inventory to sync, and then we'll dive in. Okay, so inventory got synced, and the thing I'm seeing here that I like is the process is very linear. So it's step one, connect your Amazon account. Step two, sync your Amazon account. Step three, set your minimum and maximum prices. So it says, in order to use Repricer, you need to set a minimum and maximum prices for your listings. Now that we have downloaded your listings, we can quickly use your current prices to set these. So already I'm a little bit confused, because why do I want to anchor my minimum and maximum to my current price? I might have prices set in my inventory right now that are completely insane. I don't ever expect the inventory would sell at that price. So I don't want to be anchored in my current price. Sometimes I'll ship inventory in and I'll just list it at $300, and it could be a $20 book. And I just do that because I just don't want to deal with the prices when I list them. I want to deal with them later. There's plenty of reasons why my current price might not be anything that I want to be anchored to. So hopefully we can get more. Hopefully we can get more kind of latitude here as to how we adjust this as we go on. But right now I'm just going to keep this as is. But I'm a little bit weird about this. It's a weird way to start. Not to mention the fact that I would hope that there was a way to honor the min-max price that I set when I listed the item. In other words, the min-max columns inside of Amazon. I'd like to just be able to honor those. Okay, it says preview min-max prices. Okay, so I've had to cut a lot of stuff out here because one of the issues I'm having with Repricer.com right out of the gate is it's taking a lot of time to perform basic functions. So it asked me to sync my inventory. That makes sense. But it wouldn't let me do anything else while I did. I've never seen any other Repricer that actually forced you to stop what you're doing and kind of froze the onboarding process while it synced your inventory. That was really weird. And then it asked me to set my minimum and maximum prices. And I did that and took another 10 minutes. The inventory syncing took 20 minutes. This took 10 minutes. We're at 30 minutes in, and I haven't even been able to like check out the features yet. So it's a really bad experience for a new user when I can't even, I'm not even committed to Repricer.com yet. Like if I was, I don't intend to sign up for Repricer now, but if I did, this would be a really bad experience. I'm already like 30 minutes in. I haven't even looked at the features yet. Like I don't know anyone is going to have this kind of patience. So this is pretty annoying. I will say something positive that I see that I like, which is they have a safe mode, which I think means you can kind of play with your prices and then it won't actually make the prices live. So you kind of test things out before you actually commit to anything. So I like that. So let's go ahead and start that. And it's funny. I mean, you see here, it says finishing up and I have another loading icon. And again, this one's clearly not taking as long as the last two, but kind of weird. Like I've signed up for quite a few Repricers at this point. Never seen anything that is this slow to get us going. Okay, so now it finally redirected us to a dashboard. It looks like we can actually start making some progress here. One of the things I'm noticing right out of the gate is the UI, the user interface, is a little slicker than any other tool I've used so far. I'm not sure that's necessarily a positive thing. It can be a negative thing. We'll find out, but they definitely put a lot more work into the design than any tool I've used so far. So that is something. Looks like there's a woman here who's probably not real, but there's the avatar of a woman, and it says your onboarding specialist Katie is here to help you. You can actually schedule a call with Katie. I kind of doubt Katie's actually gonna answer the phone. Maybe send her a message or introduction. I'm curious if Katie's actually gonna give us a video. Apparently this is Katie, you guys.
Hi there, my name is Katie and I'm your onboarding manager throughout your trial with Repricer.com. My job is to help you with your...
Okay, that's kind of interesting. So I doubt we're actually going to speak with her one-on-one, but okay. So what else we got here? Let's just start going through the tabs and go through this together. So right out of the gate, I don't even think I knew this, but it's also apparently Repricer reprices Amazon and eBay. So for the purpose of this video, we're only going to focus on Amazon. Okay, so we're going to go right for the tab that says repricing rules. And this is basically how all repricers work. You just set a bunch of, if this applies, then reprice my inventory this way. And you set a bunch of rules, and that's kind of how they all work. So let's just start from scratch and say create a repricing rule. And then I guess we're going to select Amazon repricing rule. I'm not sure what some of the rest of these mean. So there's custom rule, lowest price except Amazon, buy box eligible, FBA rule, FBM rule, prime rule, algorithmic repricer. So already I have a lot to say about this. So this is, again, another way that all repricers basically work is they give you a bunch of pre-formatted options. So in other words, they create preset repricing rules for people that just don't want to have to think about it and want to just kind of surrender their trust to the repricer. I pretty much never recommend anyone ever do that ever. Pricing is the most sensitive part of your Amazon selling business. You never, ever want to turn it over to some faceless company that may or may not have your best interest in mind. So definitely not interested in, certainly wouldn't recommend anyone choose any of these options, but we can kind of check them out. So we can just say lowest price option. Okay, so the name of the rule is called lowest price, default pricing rule, price below the competition by 1 cent, or you can do dollar amount or percentage. Okay, all that makes sense. Min-max product prices, manually assign net margin. So you set the minimum maximum. So I'm already seeing a major emphasis on the min-max prices from Repricer.com that I've not seen in other repricers. In other words, they seem to come like everything seems to be centered around what's your min-max and keeping you in your minimum maximum. It's important to have a min-max. It's important to have like a floor and a ceiling for sure. But the emphasis on it with Repricer.com is unlike any repricer I've seen. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. I don't really have an opinion on it yet. But you can see right away it jumps into minimum, maximum prices. And it's saying basically, how do you want to assign these? Manually, do you want to have the min max based on net margin, based on item cost price, or based on RRP, which I guess means recommended retail price. So let's go ahead and manually assign. So next up, it looks like a bunch of what they call scenarios. So if you're the buy box winner, reprice up and down. I don't really understand what that means. Which is it? But I guess it can do both. Okay. Other option is to price upward only, optimize profit, proactively reprice upwards to optimize profit, or do not reprice if you have the buy box. Number, just stop everything. So I guess I'll do up and down. If the buy box is suppressed, I guess do not reprice. I don't really know. If there's no competition, change my price to my highest allowed price. That makes sense. If competition is below the minimum price, then change my price to my minimum allowed price. So before we continue, I will say I actually like the clarity here. There's no ambiguity. Remember what these settings mean, and there's also a little tooltip you can hover over if you want more clarity. So the majority of tools I've looked at so far are hopelessly confusing. And I already kind of see there's a lot going on here, so I may get confused here pretty quickly, particularly because of my low IQ, not necessarily because Repricer.com is terrible, but it's too early to say. But right now I'm pretty content with what I'm seeing so far. If competition is below minimum price, so yeah, it's just a bunch of if this then that rules. That's kind of how these repricers work. If my product is in a price war, which I guess means if you got someone else underpricing you and then you're underpricing them, and I'm just totally extrapolating from the context here, but if Repricer senses that you're in a pricing war with another seller who's using a repricer, possibly the same one, then you can tell it to stop. Just stop racing downward, stop repricing altogether, or start repricing upwards, which I kind of like. That's kind of cool. Or it says apparently new feature, compete with settings. Maybe that'll make sense later. But I like if we're in a price war, I want to just stop everything at that point. Out of stock to max price. When an item goes out of stock, reset the price on Amazon to your maximum price, so that when it becomes active again, it doesn't sell out at the current. Okay, that makes sense. So if you just replenish your inventory, you're replenishing at a high price. Okay. Kickstart Repricer. What does that mean? Kickstart Repricer will stimulate competitors to change their pricing by setting an automated loop of increasing or decreasing your price by a set amount or percentage, and then reverting back to the original price and repricing method. It sounds interesting. I'm not entirely sure they explain that very well, but it sounds interesting. So the Kickstart Repricer, apparently it's like a secondary set of a secondary sort of pricing formula that applies for a short burst of time, I guess is what I'm gathering here. So you're saying, all right, if you're in a pricing war, price below my current price by $1 every 1 hour and stay at that price for 15 minutes. That seems dangerous, but I don't know. It might make sense. Ignore your competitors' price changes that may occur throughout the stay at duration. That sounds useful. Buy box chaser. Okay, again, my guard's up when there's like a cool, hip sounding name for something. So let's just see what this means. Buy box chaser. Optimize your chances of winning the buy box by proactively targeting the buy box winner and adjusting your pricing periodically until you win the buy box. Note, we do not recommend assigning it to a high number of products, as it will waste repricing events. So what I'm learning from this is you've got a set number of what they call events. In other words, you won't just do an unlimited number of things. So that's news to me. Every hour, decrease my price by X%. So we're going to just go ahead and turn that off. Sales rule, nothing selected. I don't know. Okay. That drop down is empty. Used listings. Used products compete equally against all other used listings. Used products may compete against equal or better listings. I guess they mean better condition. Used products only compete against equal quality used listings. I wish they used the word condition because I'm a little bit uncertain as to whether we're talking about the same thing here. But okay. Default rule fallback. So if none of my competitors' rules have been matched, always fall back to the default pricing rule. It sounds useful, but what is the default pricing rule? Where is that? So sounds interesting. And then sleep mode just means no sleep mode. Okay, so you're basically telling it, hey, just don't reprice like overnight or during any window of time. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. Okay, let's go to the next one. Add competitor rules. Give your competitor rules superpowers by setting up competing rules. These enable you to play to your strengths and forget your competitor's weaknesses and increase your chance of winning the buy box. Okay, let's see what that means. So your competitors. Your competitor, you're going to always get, it said match below, price above, or sorry, match, price above or price below. The competition by, we'll just say $1. We'll price below by 1 cent. Buy box winner rule. Buy box winner rule. When does this apply? This is not very clear. Let's look at this really quick. The buy box status that your products will compete against. We are the buy box winner. Our competition is the buy box winner. How can both of these be true at the same time? We are the buy box winner. Our competition is the buy box winner. What is the word that is in between those? Or what is the if this then that? So you're the buy box winner. Then what? It's weird to me, you guys, that you can have these tools that clearly have a lot of money invested in them, and the people who use these tools have never even used. And people who run these tools never even use them themselves. Like, you would any person, no matter what your education level or reading level, would get here and just go, or Amazon experience level would get here and just go, there's nothing about this is intuitive. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. I mean, I'm just going to set it to it doesn't matter because I just don't. It's so weird. Okay, fulfillment rule. Here we are again. You got two literally opposing scenarios in no sense as to how these relate to each other. Nothing is communicated. The fulfillment types that your products will compete against. Okay, so I guess it's saying you just declare, are you an FBA seller or fulfilled by merchant seller, and then what you're competing against. I don't like that I had to stare at this for 30 seconds to understand this, but I kind of understand this one. This one is utterly baffling, but this one, okay. So we're saying we're FBA, we're only competing with FBA. Prime rule, we are prime. This is redundant. If you're FBA, you're always prime. Why would I need to specify that I'm prime? That's bizarre. Then we're competing against, we already set this. This is right here. Our competitors, FBA. I mean, prime and FBA are synonymous. Like, when would they not be synonymous? I guess it's referring to seller fulfilled prime. I don't. Very strange. Okay, so, I mean, again, it's like your only job when I actually have run software tools. I currently run one now. Your only job is to make things simple for your user. That's it. Like, not your only job. You have to perform what you say you're going to perform and do what you say you're going to do. But when it comes to like getting them started, decreasing the level of friction is essentially the only mantra that any software founder tool needs to chant to themselves. Just reduce friction, get them going as quickly as possible. So why are we now literally 45 minutes in and I'm still not, as far as I can tell, not even close to getting anything repriced, but also very confused by some of these settings. Stock and shipping, competitor stock rule. Our competitor is in stock. I mean, you guys, not to sound like whatever, but I've been selling on Amazon for a long time. Like, this shouldn't be confusing to me. I mean, I understand what domestic means and not domestic, but why are there two columns here? What is it? There should be headers here that explain what each of these columns are. I just don't get it. So I think it's saying this is what applies to us, and then this is what should apply to what we're competing against. My stock level, okay. None of this is relevant to me. I guess this might be relevant to a different business model. None of this is relevant to me as an Amazon bookseller. My stock age, I guess that's useful. So like inventory age. So like have this rule only apply to certain, newer inventory, older inventory, whatever. In number of days, so we can say 1 to 90 days. Okay, so I kind of get that. Lead time to fulfillment, minute number of time. No idea what lead time to fulfillment means. I'm gonna go ahead and skip all this. I don't understand most of it. Feedback. So this is where you're saying you only consider something a competitor if their feedback score was in a certain range. So like 90 to 100%. I understand that. I'm personally not going to use this, but I understand it. Rating score. Oh, rating count and rating score. Number of reviews versus the percentage of positive reviews. Okay, I understand that. Now we're getting back to clarity. We're getting back to things that actually make sense. Include and exclude. Okay, so you can exclude certain merchants, certain sellers you just don't want to compete against because for whatever reason you just don't like competing against them. The minimum number of competitors. So I kind of get this. So I think it's just saying, if there's an item that we have something for sale listed, and there's very, very few other sellers selling the same item, basically don't reprice this item. In other words, let me handle something manually if there's low competition, because that becomes more sensitive. I think that's what this is saying. So let's just hover. Define the number of other sellers you wish to compete against on very competitive products. All right. I understand the value in that. So why won't it let me leave the page? It's kind of weird. It gave me a warning when I was just trying to save it. Okay, so let's go back and review what we saw. So with the basic pricing rules, what we did here, it's basically just what do you want us to do? Price above, below, or higher for this rule. Okay, get that, or match. Then you go to advanced options, and this is where I think we kind of skipped this part. Exclude non-buy box eligible sellers. Okay, so we kind of skipped that part, so forgive me if I missed something. So we looked at all this, then we set who are our competitors. So there's a few more options here. I'm already kind of getting overwhelmed here. So create your first sales rule. Create your first sales rule and automatically take advantage of spikes in sales velocity, higher profit margins, or incrementally discount your slow moving. So I guess this is setting pricing rules based on a whole other rabbit hole, you guys. So velocity last week, psychological targeting. Wow. Let's set a custom rule. And let's see what our options are. Velocity or volume. Sales have grown over. We are now firmly in overwhelming territory. In other words, I don't know how any mortal could comprehend all this. If my sales have grown, so I guess you're setting pricing rules based on. I actually have no idea. I can't make any sense of this. This is too jargon heavy for me. Trigger based on orders, psychological pricing. When updating my price, always move to the less psychological trigger. Learn more. Ensure your products are always priced at the psychological price point of 49 cents or 99 cents. I guess I kind of get that. This is weird. Let's check out volume. What does that mean? Okay, I'm officially, scientifically, clinically speaking, overwhelmed. So I'm just walking away from that. Let's go back here. I don't even want to deal with sales rules anymore. Let's see what replicator rules are. Let's skip ahead. Manage your pricing across all of your sales channels. Okay, so that's eBay, Amazon, other things. That doesn't apply to us. We're only focused on Amazon right now. And then business rules. Why would anything not be a business rule? Expand your reach to Amazon's biggest customers for B2B products by adding the business repricer. Okay, I mean, what the heck does that mean? It's like if I have to pull out a thesaurus or a glossary to figure out what's going on, I'm just out. So don't know what that is. Officially do not care. Multi-channel we can skip because again we're only selling on Amazon. Let's go to automations. Time to automate your pricing strategies. Moving products from one repricing rule to another can be time consuming and difficult to predict. So let us take over, create your first automation so we can auto detect pricing changes for you. Certainly sounds good. Automation name. What's up? Channel. So I think what we're seeing here with the automations tab is essentially you're telling repricer.com what to do when you should move an inventory from one pricing rule to another, I think. So basically you're saying, hey, if I haven't won the buy box in 3 days, then I want you to move from this strategy or this repricing rule rather to this repricing rule. So that kind of makes sense. When triggers no longer apply, move SKUs to original repricing rules, leave SKUs on the new repricing rule. So basically what to do once everything's run its course, I guess. A little bit confusing, but this does seem useful. So like you see, you've got a certain repricing rule and it's assigned to certain inventory and the inventory is just not selling. So clearly the repricing rule is not working. So then, move it to maybe more like conservative rule, I guess is what you would do. So I kind of get that. That's actually kind of cool. I have not seen that with any other repricer. So this is definitely as far as I can tell, a unique feature. Let's click next and see what's going on. So lock periods, stay on new repricing rule for at least X number of days. Break lock period. The setting will allow automation to apply if a product is already automated and is currently within a lock period. So it looks like there's a learning curve here. If we really want to understand what all this stuff means, what's a lock period? We don't know. The setting overrides the when triggers no longer apply setting. We have to figure out what that means. So there's definitely some education required to fully understand this, because I don't know if we have time for it right now. So, but at least understand the bigger concept, at least as much as I can in 60 seconds. So the import tab, I guess, is for uploading. Download your Amazon product data, then you can upload your Amazon product data. So basically make changes via, well, I guess be like CSV files. Every repricer I've looked at has some version of this. I don't personally have never updated my pricing through an upload, but I understand that is a thing. So, and you can make changes in bulk that way. Okay, so I get that. So it looks like there's a whole feedback repair / management section of Repricer.com, which is kind of cool. If you're paying for this separately, there's tools called Feedback. There's one called Feedback Genius, Feedback 5, probably some other ones I don't know about. So it looks like, I don't know how those compare, and this is really outside the scope of this video, but it looks like there's some features built in to handle feedback management. So that's something. Okay, so let's go on through these tabs here. Orders, repricing activity, which I'm guessing allows us to audit any pricing changes we made. So I kind of don't like that Repricer.com has already repriced one of my inventory items, and I don't think I told it to do that, but probably this is my fault. So I'm going to go ahead and overlook that. I need to deal with that, so give me a second. Okay, we're back. So yeah, I actually had activated 3 repricing rules, and somehow it only repriced one item from my inventory, so it could have been worse. Okay. Competitors tab. What does this mean? Information is power. Review, understand, and target your competitors. Okay, so it says Competitor Insights presents your top 10 rivals for the buy box per marketplace. I don't know if I care about my top 10 rivals. So again, I'm not interested in a lot of bells and whistles. Like, I know what I need in my repricing. I know exactly what the elements of good repricing strategy are. I know exactly what is just simply hollow features that are useless, that look cool but don't actually like boost my revenue. And I know which things contribute to good pricing strategy. I know which features are liability to good pricing strategy. And there's a lot of stuff in all these repricers I've looked at that where you just go, this is just a gimmick. Like, this doesn't actually help anybody. And if you don't know Amazon repricing, which is probably the majority of people using these tools, to be honest, they just don't know pricing strategy, and that's fine. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say it's fine. You should know pricing strategy, but I'm not knocking anybody for not being educated on it just yet. But you have to be careful about being, having shiny objects dangled in front of your face, because, too many features is worse than too few, or at least it can be. So let's move on. Reports. There's a whole host of different analytics and reports. It looks like we can look at top selling items, sales velocity increase, a report to show products that have had a significant increase in sales over the last 7 days. So what I'm seeing here is a lot of features that might have relevance to a very, very large, sort of enterprise, like mega seller. It's certainly never been me. I don't think it's anyone watching this, and I'm not entirely sure how much value most of these things have. And if you're newer to selling on Amazon, you might not know these things won't have value. You won't have the ability to separate, features, reports, analytics that have value from those that don't. You might just think everything is useful and more is always better, and that's not the case. So without digging too deep here, I'm not seeing anything that I personally would ever pay attention to. But I'm very, I'm a simple man. Source inventory, I price it, and I reprice it, and I cash the checks, and I do it again. I certainly don't need a sales velocity increase spreadsheet. Okay, so it looks like this, you guys, this is essentially it. Like, I'm not seeing anything else here. There's a couple other things like settings, app store. Like, I don't think we need to worry about this. Account settings, users, channel, subscription. I'm just curious how much Repricer.com is. I'm not even sure if we got to that part. I don't think I even paid attention before I signed up. So I will say I'm noticing something interesting here. Apparently I was on the expert plan. So what we've seen so far is a review of the expert plan. I have no memory of being asked what plan I wanted when I signed up. In fact, I'm quite confident I was never asked. It's possible I missed something, but we were just, I guess by default, set to the expert plan, which was $509 a month. Yeah, I'll let you catch your breath. I wasn't expecting that either. I just selected the plus plan, which knocks us down to $309 a month. I still don't know what the difference is between the two. It does not explain it all. I think it's the number of incidents that were allowed. In other words, the number of like actions Repricer.com is willing to take on our behalf. Again, still confused. There should be a little tooltip that explains this. It's kind of staggering, actually. The page where you select what plan you want has no explanation as to what these plans are. Almost impossible to understand. There's not even a summary. You're just left to flail around. You're just left to guess, basically. So the Plus plan, Express plan, which is the cheapest, which is $105 per month. Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. Like, I don't understand there's nothing that explains what the difference between the plans are. Why would I sign up for a plan if this won't even tell me what the plan is? And it's forcing me to I guess click around or Google. Like, why would I have to do that? And we didn't really spend a lot of time. I went back to the repricing rules. We didn't spend a lot of time looking at what the pre-formatted rules are, mostly because I'm just against that. I just do not recommend you ever surrender yourself to some pre-formatted preset rule. But let's look at these a little more closely. So there's the lowest price rule. Lowest price except Amazon rule, buy box eligible rule, compete with the buy box, so it's sort of a buy box specific rule. FBA rule, compete with FBA merchants while going above fulfilled by merchant. Okay, fulfilled by merchant rule, prime rule, algorithmic repricer. This is a pre-programmed rules that are constructed based on best industry knowledge of the weighting of different metrics used on Amazon. I'm just curious if they're at all transparent about what this logic is. So let's go ahead and click this. I don't like that when you set a rule, it turns it on by default. So I'm clicking this, and it's basically, and this is what I say in all my videos about repricers, this is what I call the just trust me bro option. Where you got a repricer, they almost all have this. They have some what they call, an algorithmic repricer or AI or some other buzzword. And you just select this option. They do not tell you how it's repricing your inventory. It doesn't tell you what the logic is, doesn't tell you what the rules are, it doesn't tell you anything at all. It's just trust us, bro. Almost incomprehensible to me that there are Amazon sellers that are doing this. It would literally take their hard-earned inventory and turn it over to a software company. Zero transparency into how their inventory is being repriced. I would love to sit down with somebody like that. And I bet there's thousands of, clearly somebody's paying for these. Someone's using these or they wouldn't exist. There's thousands, probably tens of thousands of Amazon sellers that are doing exactly what I just described. I would love to talk to just one of them and say, what on God's green earth are you thinking? Because I cannot get my head around it. I work really hard for my inventory. And to have a repricer say, just trust me, bro, offer me an option where it doesn't even tell me what it's doing. You guys, I'm getting worked up. Okay. Let's go back to these rules. I just want to really kind of thoroughly explore this because I don't really feel like I fully understand. So I guess we did look through them all. So there's 7. And then we got the custom rule. And that's where we just go through everything and set everything, line by line ourselves. We didn't really get into these min-max prices, which is, these look like they might be kind of cool. You can set your minimum maximum automatically based on your margins, your net margins, your item cost price, and the recommended retail price. That's kind of interesting, I suppose. Lots of things are missing here. For a repricer as expensive as this, there is not a single feature that mentioned Amazon sales rank. You cannot set rules based on Amazon sales rank. And I keep seeing repricers that don't include what is the most important element, the most important attribute that you base your prices on, which is sales rank. Unbelievable. No mention of it anywhere, as though it's just completely irrelevant. I don't even know how you can set a pricing rule without incorporating sales rank into that rule. I didn't see it anywhere. Other thing I'm baffled by that also afflicts the majority of repricers is the inability to set pricing rules based on product category. Explain that. Why would I want to reprice books the same way I reprice a board game? There's no way to distinguish between those two that I can see in our limited time together. Haven't seen it. So that's baffling. Lots of questions about this repricer. It is expensive. This is a high-end product. There's things missing that are fundamental to being able to reprice your inventory intelligently. I do see a lot here that I don't see in other repricers that I think makes sense for large Amazon sellers. I will say it's rare in the repricing world to find a repricer that actually distinguishes itself from other repricers in any meaningful way. And I do think I've seen that here. The way it distinguishes itself, I just so happen to believe is not relevant to me and my business model, but I can see how it would be to other people. So That's the one thing, I guess the one big positive thing I'll say about Repricer.com. Does have a lot of features, and they do seem to be well thought out, but they're just not relevant to smaller sellers. And I consider myself a smaller seller. So the other thing I didn't see here is the option to set a repricing schedule. So what I think Repricer.com may do is it's just always on. In other words, there's no gaps between repricing. It just always responds immediately to any pricing changes. So that definitely sets it apart. The majority of repricers I've looked at, you can set a schedule, but they're not always on, at least not that I can tell. I haven't ever gone so far as actually surrendering my inventory to any of these. I'm just kind of in like a voyeur mode right now, but that's my impression. So that's interesting. So we've learned a lot here. Definitely one of the most dynamic repricers I've looked at. Same grievances I have with most other repricers and a couple of new ones. But the grievances I have with all repricers are the inability to price against the second or third lowest competing offer. Crazy. That doesn't exist. Inability to price by category, set rules by category. That's crazy. Sales rank, non-existent. No mention of it anywhere. Utterly insane. So that's a few of the top ones, grievances I have. So I personally would never use this. I mean, there's just the features it has that are cool are overkill for my business size and most people I know. In fact, everyone. I don't know anyone for whom this would make sense. That's basically it. So thank you guys for watching. We took a long leisurely tour through Repricer.com. You got a glimpse that you would have had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get. So thanks for tagging along with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.